Hello, everyone. Thank you for listening to Unaffiliated Sports Broadcast, or USB, where we cover Tooele County, Utah high school sports, focused at the moment on varsity football for Grantsville High School, Tooele High School, and Stansbury High School. I hope you enjoyed the previews and the recaps. Thank you for your support, but be sure to get out there and show that support to these athletes, as they're the ones who truly deserve it, and we're just trying to give them a little bit of light for whatever little bit of platform we can provide. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here on Unaffiliated Sports Broadcast. This will likely be the final varsity football podcast that I do for the season, as all three schools that I cover here in the Tooele County area are out of the playoffs now. So Grantsville falls to Richfield, a score of 59-16 last Friday, and the Stansbury Stallions fall to the Ridgeline Riverhawks with a score of 38-20. I did not get to see the Stansbury game. They played a good team. They played a really good team. They were competitive. They just couldn't pull it out. So nothing to hang their hat on there. They had a phenomenal season, as we'll kind of get into. But yeah, tough loss for sure. Every team has that Cinderella moment, hopes and dreams, right? And they just fell short against a good team, and that's the main thing I want to drive home. Grantsville, like I said, also fell short in their game, 59-16 against a very good Richfield team, in my opinion. I watched some of the film, and one thing I gotta say is that when you see them play in person, they're a lot bigger and physical than they appear on screen, and they execute very well. They do a good job blocking on the edges with their wide receivers, getting up to the second level, making blocks to make their runs more effective. And so, they get pretty creative with some of their handoffs and play actions and things like that. So, very good team. Yardley he's my vote for MVP. That dude, he's all over the place. He's really good. And as far as the Cowboys are concerned, they just couldn't get it going on offense, man. I mean, I would like to say that it was, one thing over the other, but it really wasn't. It was kind of a combination of everything, right? The run game, I think they were doing okay, but they got down so fast that I feel like that's probably why they, kind of felt like they had to abandon it. The passing game, there was passes that should have been made, high throws, short, behind them, whatever the case was. They just weren't. The accuracy just wasn't there for them. I think that they were good play calls and they were the right looks. They just couldn't complete the pass. So, at the end of the day, it all comes down to missed opportunities. And, Grantsville, I think, missed some opportunities in that one. The defense seemed to struggle a little bit with the open field tackles, especially in the secondary. And again, kudos to the Richfield offense for blocking the way that they did too, making it difficult. A lot of their runners are hard to bring down with one guy. And Grantsville does a very good job all season long, and even in that game, they did a very good job of the group gang tackles, right? And it just wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough to hold them over the edge, and unfortunately, they fall. But they fall to a good team, and that's that's kind of the theme that I want to drive home, is that it's unfortunate you lost, but you played a really good team, and you had a really good season as well. So don't hang your head on that one. Tough loss for sure. I mean, obviously nobody wants it to end that way, right? But at the end of the day, somebody's got to win, and it wasn't your day, and that sucks. It really does. And I'm sorry for all those. Same with Stansbury. I'm sorry for all those seniors that aren't going to get there. That's a tough one. So if you've been following the Instagram thing, that I've done my best to try to shout you guys out as seniors. Thank you for everything that you did, the contributions that you made to your communities and your teams, and letting everyday people like myself have something to look forward to on a Friday night. So thank you for everything that you guys have done, and I hope that you guys leave and feel a sense of fulfillment from what you've done. That's, in my opinion, that's the biggest thing. And I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing some of you guys play at the next level. Don't ever give up on your dreams. Crazier things in the world have happened. You never know what might happen. So I'll be on the lookout for it. I'm sure there's a lot of other people that'll be on the lookout for it. But again, this is the season recap for Grantsville High School, Stansbury High School, and the Tooele Tooele High School, Tooele Buffaloes. So we're going to just kind of go over a few things. Hopefully I don't mess it up too much. I threw it all together. I've been working on a lot of graphics. Stansbury has a lot of seniors. That one took me a while to do. And Tooele, I had a rough time getting accurate information. I messed it up. It was just bad. So, but hopefully it turned out okay with the senior salute that we did. That is something that I don't feel like I've really seen it. Mainly, I don't think I've seen it because most of these sites aren't focused on one region or set of schools. So I understand why you don't see that, especially after doing what was it, 31, I think it was, for Stansbury. Crazy. But overall, for the Tooele County stat leaders, that's kind of what I want to get into. So, the Grantsville Cowboys, they ended with an overall record of 9-3. They were 4-1 in their region, ranked number 2 in 3A North. In 3A as a whole, they were ranked number 3. And in the state of Utah, they were ranked number 46. So, fantastic job by that group. I don't think a lot of people expected that. I didn't expect that. I'll be 100% honest with you. And it's not because I didn't have faith in the players or anything like that. I just felt like there was a lot of things kind of coming into the season that were going to linger over and have more of an impact. So kudos to the players, kudos to the staff for not letting that situation, hold over and disrupt what they were trying to do. I think it had potential to kind of be a 500 season, and thank you for proving me wrong, because you guys did a phenomenal job, and I'd like to say I'm sorry that I doubted it, but at the same time I'm not, because I like to be proven wrong sometimes, and inspired by great things, by things that happen that you least expected. So good job to the Grantsville Cowboys. Great season overall. Again, didn't end up the way you wanted it to, but I think you guys have a lot to be proud of. You guys did a lot of good things. As for the Stansbury Stallions, they finished with a record of 8-4. They went 6-0 in their region, ranked number 1 in region 10 or 9. I can't remember. I should have wrote it down and I didn't. Dang it. But either way, they were ranked number 1 in their region. In 4A as a whole, they were ranked number 8. And in the state of Utah, they were ranked 32. Super impressed by this team. Because, one, I didn't know a lot about Stansbury really coming into this. And to be fair, I probably still don't. But the one game that stands out to me where I knew that I probably had to pay more attention to them was when they beat Park City. Nobody probably outside of Stansbury was projecting them to win that game, and they did a phenomenal job against a really good team, and they held that number 1 spot in their region the rest of the year. I did get to see them play against Tooele, and I was super impressed to see the overall cohesion of the defensive unit. I think is what impressed me the most about that. How everybody just executed their job, and it was an all-around impressive performance on the defensive end, because Tooele kind of came into that game with an insane amount of rushing yards, and Stansbury just wasn't letting it happen in that game. So I definitely owe them an apology in a lot of ways for not maybe giving them the recognition and credit that they rightfully deserved. They did a phenomenal job, and they played a really good team. I'm pretty sure they played an undefeated team too. That's really good. I remember doing the spreadsheet or the graphics for that preview, and I was just like, man, this school's pretty good. So again, nothing to hang your hats on. Thank you for letting people like myself be a part of your guys' journey, and just like all the other schools, I hope that you find fulfillment in what you've been able to accomplish, and moving forward, you take that into something positive for your life. As for Tooele, they went 4-7 on the year, so not so good for them, but they went 3-3 in their region. They were ranked number 4 in their region, so not terrible there. I definitely typoed. Nope, never mind. In 4A as a whole, they were ranked 20. And in Utah, they were ranked 81. I don't know if I said the ranking for Stansbury. They were ranked 32 in the state. I don't know if I said that. Tooele was ranked 81 in the state in terms of their overall performance. One thing that I gotta give a shout out to with Tooele is, it is unfortunate that they appear to be one dimensional in terms of the massive amount of run plays that they run, but with that being said, they have some phenomenal athletes at their running back position. Obviously, like Gritzmacher, he got a lot of attention. He had a stellar season, so rightfully so, he should have a lot of attention, right? But even myself, like, I really downplayed the impact of players like Rosser. Obviously, like, I saw his name in the stat lines and stuff, but I think it was so easy to get kind of not sidetracked. That's not the caught up. There we go. Caught up with these stats of Gritzmacher that I didn't show that dude enough appreciation. He's a Swiss Army knife for him. He does a lot of things, and same with Clarkson. He's real good too. So even though they are a run dominant team, they have some athletes, man. They have some athletes, and they did, in my opinion, they did a good job. I think if they could have incorporated the passing game a little bit more, maybe figured that out a little bit, they could have potentially had a better season. Maybe been a little better off come playoff time. I don't really know, but I don't think that even their 4-7 record is a true justification of what that team is. And it is unfortunate that they weren't able to move a little further into the playoffs. But I think they had a good season, and obviously there's room for growth. There's things that need to be addressed, and I'm sure they're going to address those things, as every team does, right? So definitely looking forward to continuing to be, watching these programs as they grow and change. I'm almost to the point where I don't have to worry about actually having to attend one specific game. I can push myself around and see other schools play and stuff like that. And I'm super excited for that because, the one thing that I don't think you get a true appreciation for as just like a parent spectator is the amount of talent around you, right? And, I can't vouch for everywhere, but in Tooele County, I think there's like this unique kind of, we all hate each other, but we all love each other type thing, right? And there's a ton of talent in this county, and it's been amazing to just kind of see that from a different perspective, because again, it's like a parent spectator, you don't really see that, you know what I mean? Because you're so focused on what your kid's doing and trying to be the cheerleader for your kid, you know what I mean? It's awesome to get out there and root these other players on and see the things that they do and the amazing things that they do that you don't even realize until you're putting together stat sheets. So, again, though, congratulations to all three of those schools. Honestly, I don't think any of you have anything to beat yourselves up about, and just go through, make the corrections that you can find, and keep driving. That's what it's all about. So, good job. That is the overall records for the season and things like that. So now we're going to transition into some offensive stats. So the Grantsville Cowboys passing stats on the season, they had 2,267 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Meanwhile, on the ground, rushing, they had 1,593 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 10 fumbles. So I don't know if all those fumbles were rushing. I just figured that was the best place to put it. Okay, but either way, as an offense as a whole, they had 10 fumbles. Yeah, that's going to be the same for all of them. So if I don't repeat that, don't crucify me. All right, it is what it is. But awesome job on the ground. Very, very good job. Passing game, I think I kind of saw it coming because I've kind of been a Van Vliet fan for a while, so I wasn't too surprised by the passing yardage. I am looking for him to continue to improve. I think there's definitely room for improvement, but I wasn't shocked by the fact that the passing game was as successful as it was. Maybe a little shocked, but not that shocked. Not that shocked. So in terms of Stansbury, though, their passing attack on the year, they had 1,959 yards, 22 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Rushing, they had 2,453 yards on the ground, 29 touchdowns, and 6 fumbles. The passing attack for Stansbury was definitely interesting to me to be able to see in person the way that they would switch out Dearden and Rutzel. I think they've got a promising future in Rutzel. Yeah, I do think he's going to have to look at other receivers. Um, that's a stupid thing to say, I guess. I'm sure he knows that. He's gonna have to get more comfortable with it, I think, and then he'll be super effective. But he's definitely a good person to follow behind Dearden, as Dearden is a senior. So I think they're in a good situation to kind of repeat the success that they had in the air this season. The running back situation. To be honest with you, I don't know what that really looks like for him. I can't say that I've been able to see enough of their backups play. And I don't feel that the stat lines are a true justification of what that could be. So I'd imagine it'll be very similar. But Ferry's a unique player in itself, so that's going to be a difficult one to fill. You know what I mean? So, but great season to those guys. Those are great numbers. 29 touchdowns on the ground. I mean that's good. On 2,400 yards, very good. Can't knock that. And through the air, 22 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, very comparable to what Grantsville did there. Just phenomenal job, guys. Phenomenal job. For the Tooele Buffaloes, passing yards, they had 644 yards on the season, 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. In terms of rushing, they had 3,190 yards on the ground, 30 touchdowns, and 17 fumbles. They did put the ball on the ground quite a bit. That was something that I addressed in some previous podcasts. That was definitely something that I think hurt them in certain situations. But again, 30 touchdowns on the ground, just under 3,200 yards. Super impressive. And that yardage was collected by, like I was kind of saying earlier, by multiple players. They've got some serious athletes on that team. And I know Rosser's leaving. I know Gritzmacher's leaving. But Clarkson, I think, is a very solid person to kind of fill in some of that gap. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it all. That'd be pretty impressive if he's able to do it all. But, they've got some very phenomenal athletes in there. So I imagine it'll be more of the same, next year with them being run heavy. But I would like to see, Pater get some progression there and get those numbers up. I really think it would help the Tooele offense quite a bit to be a little bit, not so one-dimensional. And I think that way when they reach those tough games, they have something, that they can rely on, and I think you can still be run heavy and still increase that a little bit. And so I'm looking for him to do some serious work in the offseason and improve himself because, I did a couple of his throws, and I don't know if it was just because it was, not being utilized all that much, right? So it was just a little rusty, a little cold maybe. But, a little bit of accuracy problems, nothing too crazy, but he's definitely got an arm though. I watched him launch one down the field, so he's definitely got an arm. I think it'd be really good for Tooele's offense if they could, increase that passing game production. So in terms of the defense for each team, your Grantsville Cowboys, they had 636 total tackles on the season, 63 tackles for loss, 31 sacks, 10 quarterback hurries, 16 interceptions, 1 defensive touchdown, 16 fumble recoveries, 10 caused fumbles, and 5 blocked field goals. Fantastic job to that defense. I've said it time and time again throughout the season that I was super impressed by that defense. And not that I didn't have faith in them, but it was more the way that they were doing it. I was extremely impressed by. They did a phenomenal job all year long, and they should definitely be proud of what they accomplished because, again, I didn't see them having as much success as they ended up having. So thank you again for proving me wrong. That is an amazing job. They did phenomenal all year long. The Stallions, they ended with 727 total tackles, 17 tackles for loss, 13 sacks, 0 quarterback hurries. I don't think that's true, but that's what's in max preps, and maybe they just didn't, have a way to stat it. I don't know. But either way, that's what it says. 16 interceptions, 2 defensive touchdowns, 2 fumble recoveries, and 1 caused fumble. Phenomenal job. Like I had said earlier, I was super impressed with the cohesion of that defense. Looking at the stats throughout the season, it was hard to. It didn't look like it was a one-man show or just like 2 or 3 players kind of standing out. It was a collective, asserted group from what I could tell, and then again what I witnessed, right? So I was super impressed by that, and I definitely didn't give them the credit that they deserve, mainly just from my own ignorance and lack of exposure, right? So very, very good job, very good job. The Tooele Buffaloes, they had 604 total tackles, 39 tackles for loss, 19 sacks, 42 quarterback hurries, 12 interceptions, 1 touchdown, 5 fumble recoveries, 7 caused fumbles, and 3 blocked field goals. Impressive stat line. Like I said earlier, I don't think that the 4-7 record is truly indicative of what this team could be or could have been or should have been. That defense was really getting to it. So great job to that unit. Who was it? I'm just gonna mess it up if I try to use my memory, but super impressed by them. 19 sacks. Good job there. Tackles for loss 39, getting in that backfield. So fantastic job to that defense. All right, in terms of your Tooele County stat leaders at the quarterback position, for Grantsville, you have number 1, Dallin Van Vliet. He was 153 for 323, 2,137 yards for 47% completion on the year. 178 yards a game was his average, 21 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 75 yards being the longest pass, and he had a season QBR. Jeez Louise, season QBR of 77.9. He had a really good season. He had some games where he kind of struggled, and I think that's what brought his percentage down a little bit. But 2,100 yards, 21 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. That's not bad for a sophomore. So super excited to see what he does, continue to go forward. I think when you see the next quarterback, you can look at that and be like, yeah, there's some promise there, because he definitely did a lot of good things. So I don't know. I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see what changes he does make. He's definitely gonna have to work on his. I think he throws a little bit better on the run, oddly enough. At least he did on Friday. Maybe I just realized it on Friday. But his accuracy when he was throwing on the run seemed to be pretty good. And he seemed to struggle when he was in the pocket a little bit. So, I think that's probably an area that if I'm him, I'm trying to look at. And again, maybe it was just that game and it's just fresh in my mind. So that's what I'm thinking about, right? But, when he was running, he was slinging it. And then, most from what I can remember, his incompletions was more from in the pocket area. So I don't know if it was just him being under pressure, trying to see over the lineman, which I doubt, because he's a pretty tall kid. So, or young man, excuse me. So yeah. As for Stansbury, their quarterback, number 4, Coleman Dearden. I think it's Coleman. I just put the first initial like an idiot. I'm sorry, guys. Dearden. He was 89 for 179 on the season, 1,466 yards with a 49% completion percentage. He averaged 122.2 yards per game. He had 14 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 76 yards being his longest, and a season QBR of 85.1. Great job. He had a ton of scrambling yards too. So don't let that 1,466 fool you and make you think that he didn't do all that much. No, he scrambled for quite a bit too. Unfortunately, he wasn't the stat leader for him, so we're probably not going to hear about it on this. But if you look at the previews and all those things, he rushed for quite a bit. He was very impressive to watch. I was actually very impressed by his ability to scramble. He did a phenomenal job there, to the point where I made the statement that I think that's probably the smartest thing that Stansbury's done, is that 2 quarterback thing that they were doing in the game that I watched, because Dearden, he can scramble. So good season to you, young man. Congratulations on your football career, your high school football career, and best of luck to you moving on, sir. For Tooele, you have number 9, Gus Pater. He was 36 for 75, 644 yards, 48% completion. He had 58.5 yards on average per game, 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 50 yards being his longest, and he had a season QBR of 66.8. Like I've kind of already stated, I don't think that that's a stat line that does him justice. because Tooele doesn't throw the ball that much. I mean, you have 75 attempts throughout the whole season. He's definitely going to have to get that percentage up, but I think that that's a byproduct of him just not being comfortable with throwing the ball because they do so much running, right? So I don't feel like that's a stat line that's truly a representation of who he is. And I believe, I could be wrong about this, but I believe he's a sophomore as well. So they've got room to work with him if they want to. And personally, I think that they should. That's just my personal opinion. As for the running backs, all right, this is where it starts to get big numbers, big paydays, right? For Grantsville, you got number 32, the senior Jaden Atkinson. He had 180 carries for 1,284 yards. He had 7.1 average yards per carry. He averaged 116.7 yards a game. 81 yards was his longest, and he had 6 games with over 100 plus yards on the ground. 17 touchdowns and 4 fumbles. Phenomenal job from that young man. He did a great job, and that's with missing. I think he missed 1 game, the Morgan game, if I'm not mistaken. So he had quite the stat line, and he missed a game. So couldn't be more happy for what he's for that young man and what he's been able to do. He's definitely going to be tough shoes to fill, and if I'm the ones behind him, I'm doing my best to, right, and let his example shine through. So good job to him. Best of luck to you moving on, as again he is a senior. So best of luck to you doing whatever you do. Hopefully it's playing at the next level. We hope to see you. There's a lot of opportunities out there. There's more of them coming every day, so could be interesting. As for the Stallions, number 2, Ferry. Again, I should have wrote down. Is it Tyson? Yeah, it's Tyson. I should have wrote down the whole dang name. I don't know what I was doing, guys. I'm sorry. It's been a lot of graphics that I've been making, all right? But Ferry, number 2, he is also a senior. He had 162 carries for 913 yards. He averaged 5.6 yards a carry, 76.1 yards per game. He had 61 yards as his longest, and he had 5 games with over 100 yards rushing on the ground, 8 touchdowns, and most impressively, 0 fumbles listed. So, hey, way to hang on to that ball security. Great job to that young man. He had some receiving yards too. He wasn't just a single threat player. I think he even had some defensive stats too, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember if that was for this year though, or if it was earlier in his high school career. But yeah, great job to that young man. Same as always, same as the others, right? I hope to see you continue it on and do great things. As for Tooele Buffaloes, you got number 13, Vaughn Gritzmacher. And I need clarification on this. And I probably won't get it, but is it Maker or Mocker? In my head, it's it should be Mocker. But I've kind of been curious about that all year long. I'm not going to lie. He had 136 carries for 1,446 yards. He averaged 10.6 yards a carry, 131.5 yards per game. 80 yards was his longest. He had 7 games with over 100 plus yards on the ground, 18 touchdowns, and 8 fumbles. So, when you run the ball as much as Tooele does, I think fumbles are inevitably a part of the game. But 18 touchdowns, that's pretty impressive. Just under 1,500 yards. That's awesome. That dude had an amazing season, and he wasn't alone. He wasn't alone in that, but he was definitely the standout, and he deserves the recognition. He deserves the credit. He did averaging a first down every time he touches the ball. That's pretty impressive. I don't care what anybody says. That's pretty awesome. So, congratulations to those running backs. Excuse me. Moving on to the wide receivers. For Grantsville, you got number 5, Jackson Jensen. He had an amazing year. He's a junior, so he'll be coming back. He had 32 receptions, 685 yards. he averaged 21.4 yards per reception and averaged 57.1 yards per game. 75 yards was his longest, and he had 7 touchdowns on the season. What I liked the most about that was he made the switch to receiver, I think, this year, if I'm not mistaken. He may have played it a little bit last year, but he made the switch this year, and it was a phenomenal choice for that young man. He did fantastic. He was the outside receiver, and him and Jordan Fossen were battling for that number 1 spot with the Grantsville receivers pretty much all year long, just kind of going back and forth. And again, I'm pretty sure he made the switch this year, and he did a phenomenal job. What I liked on Friday was him getting in open space across the middle on the slant routes and things like that. I think that's the bread and butter for those guys moving forward between him and Jordan. I think that's going to be a lethal combination. But either way, hey, Jackson Jensen, 685 yards. Congratulations to that young man. And again, he's a junior, so we get to see him hopefully do even more amazing next year. So congratulations, sir. For Stansbury, you got number 1, Luke Rich, right? Is it Luke? Gosh, every single time I'm going to say this, you guys. Here, you know what? Let me pull up. I got all this stuff still on my phone. I just got to find it now. All right. Yeah. Luke Rich. Yeah. Okay. I knew I wasn't crazy. He is a senior. He had a phenomenal high school career. That's going to, if you haven't checked those out on Instagram, please go over there and do so. Show these guys some love. They worked their tails off, and they deserve recognition. But he had a phenomenal high school career, and he had a phenomenal season. He was the leading receiver for the Stansbury Stallions with 39 receptions, 712 yards, averaging 18.3 yards per reception, averaging 59.3 yards a game, 76 yards being his longest, and six touchdowns. Now, he had other stats throughout the season, just like everybody else, but he was the leading receiver. He did a great job. What game? I think it was the Tooele game. I think he was my player to watch, and he ended up getting a touchdown in that game. Phenomenal job by that young man, and best of luck to you, sir, moving forward. For Tooele, you've got number 11, Clarkson. I definitely don't remember his first name, so my apologies, sir. But Clarkson, M. Clarkson, number 11. He had 18 receptions for 269 yards. He averaged 14.9 yards on per reception, 26.9 yards per game, 38 being his longest, and 3 touchdowns. And now I get what you're saying. You look at those other 2 stat lines, and that's not that crazy. That's pretty dang good considering Tooele only threw the ball 75 times. So obviously, a sure target for Pater there. And he did the most with it that he could. So he had a lot of rushing yards too, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not a lot. Yeah, he had quite a few rushing yards. So he, I believe, is a junior. I could be wrong. Maybe he's a sophomore, but I'm pretty sure he's a junior. So he should be back, if I'm not mistaken. Clarkson should be back next year for the Buffaloes. So it'll be awesome to see him continue to progress. Great job, young man. Great job to all those wide receivers. As for the defense, moving on to total tackles. For Grantsville, your total tackle leader was number 12, Mason Butler. He had 104 total tackles, 66 solo, and 7 tackles for loss. That dude had a great season. Great season. He was he did phenomenal. The Stallions, their total tackle leader, was number 23, Olsen. He had 95 total tackles, 49 solo, and 1 tackle for loss. I didn't really get to see a whole lot of Stansbury play, so I'm really pretty much just reliant on stats there. And that's a heck of a season. I am curious if the tackle for loss is accurate, though. I don't know. Something about the way Stansbury stats read, I didn't feel like it was completely accurate, but maybe it is. For the Tooele Buffaloes, their leading total tackler was number 22, Barrett. He had 100 total tackles, 38 solo, and 4 tackles for loss. If I'm not mistaken, all 3 of those men that I just read the stat line for, they're all seniors, so congratulations to them. They all had impressive high school careers. I did the the senior salute for him. They did phenomenal things their entire time there. So good job to you guys. Best of luck moving forward. Those are your total tackles leaders. Your sack leaders. For Grantsville, you got number 28, the other Butler, Talon Butler. He had 8.5 sacks on the season. Phenomenal job. 32 yards lost as a result, and 3 quarterback hurries. Phenomenal. He had a bunch of tackles too. He was just behind Mason, but those two were all over the place. So good job to that young man. The Stallions, theirs was number 6, Wilson. He had 8 sacks. 22 yards lost, and 0 quarterback hurries. Again, I don't buy the 0 hurries, but I just don't know that it's a stat they're keeping. But either way, 8 sacks on the season. Phenomenal job, young man. And number 58 for the Tooele Buffaloes, Dixon. He had 8 sacks as well on the season. 50 yards lost as a result, and 6 quarterback hurries. That dude had a phenomenal year. A bunch of tackles for them too. So just because they're just in the sack category, you don't take it out of context. These 3 young men were all over the place, making things happen for their teams. Congratulations to them. And Dixon, I think, sticks around, but the other 2 are seniors, if I'm not mistaken. I could be, yeah, because I don't remember doing one for Dixon, but I also can't trust my memory. So best of luck to those guys moving forward. Great job in the sack category for those leaders. Interception leaders. For Grantsville, you got number 8, Jordan Fossen. He had 5 interceptions on the season for 136 yards returned. For Stansbury, I can't say enough good things about Jordan, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse. The dude, he did a phenomenal job shutting down those receivers. So he speaks for himself on the stat records. He's the leader in like 3 categories, I think. So phenomenal job for that young man, seriously. And he's a junior too, so we get to see more of him. For the Stansbury Stallions, you got number 18, Binkley. He had 4 interceptions for 10 yards. I'm pretty sure he is a senior, so congratulations to him and his career, and best of luck to you, sir, moving forward in whatever you choose to do in life. For Tooele, you got number 18, Simmons. He had 3 interceptions for 101 yards and 1 touchdown. Same thing. I'm pretty sure he is a senior. So best of luck to you, sir, moving forward. I really do hope you guys find something you enjoy doing, because life's a lot better when you enjoy stuff, or you just find hobbies and you do them in your spare time like I do. Hey, whatever works for you. But best of luck to those guys. Phenomenal job. Phenomenal job. Your kickoff return stat leaders. For Grantsville, you got number 8, Jordan Fossen. He had 15 kickoff returns for 502 yards, 88 yards being his longest, and 1 touchdown. One thing about Jordan is he's trying to run it to the house every single time. He is not thinking about field position. He's thinking touchdown, and that's a phenomenal trait to have, I think, on kickoff return. It's very unfortunate he was only able to find the end zone once on those, because he put up a ton of return yards. So good job to you, sir, and can't wait to see you do more next year. For Stansbury Stallions, you got number 11, Salahuddin. He had 11 kickoff returns, 213 yards, 98 yards being his longest, and unfortunately, guys, that was against Tooele. I'm pretty sure it was against Tooele, at least, maybe not. No, it was an 80-yarder, I think. I don't know. Whatever. 98 yards being his longest. He had 1 touchdown, and I know that was against them. So yeah, fantastic job. That dude can move. I don't know if you guys saw the video I put when I was at the game for Tooele and Stansbury. That dude can fly, man. He is quick. Yeah, he is a senior though, so best of luck to you, sir. Sorry I didn't get to see you do anything until your senior year, because like I said, that dude is quick. For Tooele Buffaloes, you got number 11, Clarkson. He had 24 kickoff returns for 485 yards, 42 yards being his longest, and unfortunately he was not able to find the end zone. But either way, 485 return yards. Awesome job to you, sir. And again, you should be coming back if I'm not mistaken, so can't wait to see what you do moving forward. Those are your kickoff return stat leaders. As for your punt return stat leaders, for Grantsville, you guessed it, you got number 8, Jordan Fossen. He had 16 punt returns for 169 yards, and 21 being his longest. For Stansbury, you had number 1, Luke Rich. Why am I second guessing that like I didn't just look at it? Yeah, Luke Rich. Jeez Louise. He had 12 punt returns for 104 yards, 31 being his longest. And for Tooele, you got number 11, Clarkson, 4 punt returns, 4 yards, 4 being his longest. Nothing super fancy there, but hey, next year, you never know. You never know. Those are your punt return stat leaders. Your kickoff stats. For Grantsville, you got number 4, Brent Knickerbocker. He's got 26 kickoffs on the season, for 1,316 yards, 50.6 yards being his average, 60 being his longest, and 3 touchbacks. Phenomenal job by that young man. Stansbury, you got number 34, Clegg. He's got 56 kickoffs for 2,537 yards, 45.3 yards on average, 60 yards being his longest, and 1 touchback. Great job, sir. Great job. The Tooele Buffaloes, you got my man, number 14, Wilcox. He's got a leg on him, man. He's got 54 kickoffs for 3,584 yards. His average kick was 66.4 yards, 80 yards being his longest, and 43 touchbacks. Phenomenal job. If we don't see that young man, he's a senior. He's a senior. So if we don't see that young man at the next level, I'm severely disappointed with scouting because, there's a lot to go out there. Because that was your kickoff. Now we're going to get into your point after and field goal. Okay. So for Grantsville, you got number 4, Brent Knickerbocker. He was 33 for 35 on PATs, 8 for 9 on field goals, 45 being his longest. That was exciting to see him reach, by the way. I know he was super proud of himself. It was cool to be there and see that. For 57 total points. For Stansbury, number 34, Clegg. He's 41 of 45 on his PATs, 1 for 1 on field goals for 34 yards, and 44 total points. And as for Tooele, my man, number 14, Wilcox, he's 28 of 32 on his PATs, 9 of 13 in field goal, 42 being his longest, and 55 total points. Great job to all of those athletes. I think I missed one here. Let me go back to it because they deserve a shout out too. The punt stat leaders. I don't know what happened with the way I organized it, but this was supposed to be in there before those ones, I think, and I totally missed it. So we're going to get back to it. The punt stat leaders for Tooele County. For Grantsville, you got number 10, Coulter Dong. He had 19 punts for 845 yards, 44.5 yards being his average punt, 56 being his longest, and unfortunately had 0 inside the 20-yard line. So, but I think that's not on him as much as when they were forced to punt. Van Vliet also had a significant amount of punt yards just because of the way that Grantsville runs their offense. But Coulter Dong took the lead with the 845 punting yards. So good job to you, sir. And he is a junior? Sophomore? I can't remember. But we've got more time to see him play. That much I do know. As for Stansbury, you got number 15, Lewis. He had 29 punts for 935 yards, 32.2 yards being his average, 58 being his longest, and he had 6 inside the 20-yard line. Good job for him. He should be a senior if I'm not mistaken, so best of luck to you, sir. Whatever it is you choose to do. The Tooele Buffaloes, you got, again, my man, number 14, Frank Wilcox. Is it Frank? Did I say that wrong? I can't say my man and say his name wrong, right? That's kind of boneheaded of me. Why am I second guessing this? I think because I use his full name, Franklin. It's his full government there. Wilcox, number 14, he had 26 punts for 998 yards, 38.4 on average, and 54 yards being his longest, and he had 4 punts that were inside the 20-yard line. So congratulations to all of those stat leaders, and most importantly, congratulations to all 3 teams. It didn't turn out the way that anybody wanted it. Obviously, you're going for that state championship, and you guys fell short. But I think you guys got a lot to hang your heads on, things to improve on. It's very promising. I know for Grantsville in particular, you got a lot of returning players that should make you very competitive going into next year. Stansbury, like I said, they had like 31 seniors, so it'll be extremely interesting to see those players coming in behind them. But I did get to see a lot of their JV games, and I think they've got a promising group of kids coming in behind them. So I think that I don't know if they'll have the same success. They're losing some players that are tough shoes to fill, but I think that the opportunity is there for them to repeat that success. So best of luck to those two moving forward. As for Tooele, 4-7, tough season, but you did pretty decent in region. You went 500 in region. The run game was a huge part of your guys' offense, and I think, like I said, all season long, I think if they can get that passing game a little bit more integrated into the offense, I think you guys will see that record improve. You're losing some players that arguably are going to be extremely hard to fill those shoes. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, because I got to see a fair amount of JV games for the Buffaloes as well, and ball security was definitely one of those things that they had to improve on. So I don't know that the JV was a good representation. I don't know that it's ever a true good representation for what you got coming into the next season, but I think for Tooele in particular, I don't think that it's the best representation for what they're probably going to get. I think there's a lot of potential in a lot of their players. I just don't know that it was executing as well as it could have been at the JV level, so it's hard to tell. But they've got a bunch of returning players too. They had, I think it was 24, 23-ish seniors leaving, and Grantsville only had like 15. So, most of Grantsville should be back. Fair amount of Tooele should be back. I think the problem with Tooele is they're losing them at kind of some key parts, and that's going to be tough to fill. So it'll be interesting. I can't wait for next season to start already on my end. I know players are probably like, nah, I'm good for a break. But it's been a pleasure to do this. I started doing this. All I want to do is just shout these athletes out. I'm not trying to get famous or anything like that. I can't invest that amount of time anyways. I mean, unless you guys really want to pay me all that much, then maybe I can readjust some priorities, right? But it's been my pleasure to see these young athletes grow and develop. It's been awesome. I've had the luxury of seeing a lot of Grantsville kids over the last couple of years. Both my oldest son played, and my son plays now, and so it's been awesome to see the growth in some of these, and I'm glad that I'm getting to a point where I can experience that same growth in some of Stansbury's players and some of Tooele's players. So all I'm trying to do is just give them a shout out. So just know that everything that you share, it just helps spread it for these kids. I don't try to do anything that is directed towards anything else than that, and I hope that it's working. So I try to do things a little bit different. The senior salute, that's something that I want to keep going. I just got to figure out a way to make sure that I know for sure who's on the rosters, because I know Tooele, there was some kids that were listed on max preps that had actually quit playing before the season even started or something like that. So that's a challenge. That's a hurdle. There's going to be some mistakes made. So thank you for bearing with me on those. But again, I'm just trying to shout these guys out, man. They did a phenomenal job. They put in a lot of work. The coaches put in a lot of work. The players put in a lot of work. And I'm just trying to do my part and show some recognition and support to those guys. And, in the case of Tooele, they're even their team managers, right? So I'm not opposed to that either. If I know about it, you'll get a shout out, I promise, because everybody contributes. Last thing I want to end with is thank you to all the coaches for giving up your time, going out there and trying to impact these young men and probably women in some cases too, right? Thank you for trying to be a positive influence in their lives and steer them with, real life situations that whether they know it or not right now will pay off for them later on in the future. So thank you. And thank you for being tolerable to individuals like myself who get up here and probably, don't fully understand what we're saying because we don't have all the insights, obviously, right? We're just looking at things. I can't speak for any other program, but just, speaking for myself, I promise you it all comes from a place of love. I want you guys all to succeed. So I think, unfortunately for Tooele and Stansbury, you guys both can't succeed at the same time because you're in the same region. But I want you guys all to be successful, right? So, thank you. Honestly, thank you. And keep your heads up. Didn't end the way that anybody wanted it to, but I don't think that anybody has anything to hang their head on. I think, obviously there's some improvements to be made. But in terms of Stansbury and Tooele in particular, I think you guys had an amazing season. You should not be upset about anything. And Tooele, like I've already said, I don't think you had a bad season. I think you just were one-dimensional, and it kind of bit you guys a little bit. So, I don't know. 3,200 rushing yards is pretty impressive to me. So, I don't care what anybody says. But either way, thank you. Thank you for doing what you do to the fans. Thank you for going out there supporting your athletes. Just remember, try to support everybody. You know what I mean? It's pretty cool. It's pretty fun. It's really fun, actually. So if you have the opportunity to check out any of these other games, you should do so. It's a good perspective situation. So I don't know, but I've already talked for long enough. I'm not going to keep you guys. Like I said, this will be the final varsity football podcast episode that I will do until next year, of course. And so now we're going to transition into basketball. Yeah, I'm excited for that. That's going to be a challenge for me because, the one thing about football is there's 3 teams. And now I'm going to be going into 6 teams between the boys and the girls, and then trying to cover, JV, freshmen, and anything like that. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be fun. I'm super excited for it, and I can't wait to get into it. It's going to be very fast paced. And I've got because of basketball, we've got Windover, we've got Dugway. Yeah, I don't know that I'm going to be able to cover all that. I think I'm going to be challenged enough with just the 3. So I don't know. It's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome. So keep following, keep supporting your local athletes. Share the stuff. I'll get a rhythm going, I'm sure, just like I did with football. It's just going to probably take me a second. So last but not least, congratulations to all 3 teams. Congratulations to all the players. Congratulations to all the seniors. Best of luck to you guys moving forward in your lives on whatever you choose to do. And I do sincerely mean that. Go do something that you enjoy doing, because life's a lot better when you enjoy what you're doing. So you got to make money. I get that. But try to do something that you enjoy too. So thank you for all the support that you guys have given me so far out of the season. I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Please take care of yourselves. Go support your local athletes. That's all I can say. Talk to you guys later.
Thank you for listening to Unaffiliated Sports Broadcast. You can follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Unaffiliated Sports Broadcast. The podcast is available on iHeart, Spreaker, Spotify, Amazon Music. So for all the updates, please follow the Instagram page as we post the updates there, as well as the stats for these amazing young athletes. I hope you enjoyed the show, and until next time, please take care of yourselves, and we'll talk to you later.